We're going to talk about honoring the throne of kings and positioning our hearts in proper godly reverence and the fear of the Lord with kings. So there is a throne and authority, a glory that God has put in every king, that throne that he possesses. And God himself positioned and chose each of those kings to put in that throne for right now. There is a glory, and there is an authority, and there is a reverence that we need to hold in our hearts about the throne of those kings. Every man and woman in the Bible that was strategically positioned by God to influence nations, to bring strategies to save humanity, to save entire people groups, understood the weight and the glory and the reverence of honoring the throne of the kings. Esther, Joseph, Deborah, Nehemiah, Daniel, Ruth, they were able to be strategically positioned by God, I believe, because they understood how to honor that throne. It is never okay for me or anyone else to speak any evil against any king, anywhere, to think any evil against any king. It is my responsibility before a living God to pray for the kings and to pray for those in authority. Authority positions, king positions in a home. There is a throne that is specific for every man over his wife and in his home. And there is a specific throne over every mother, over the children in her home and over the home. There is a throne over every nation and kings that are set up by God over every nation, over industries, over people groups, over churches. And those thrones need to be honored. And the people in those thrones need our prayers. It is my responsibility before a living God to pray and speak life and speak strategies and speak what God speaks in his word over those kings. That helps position them to hear from a living God, to get his direction and his instruction for such a time as now. There are two kingdoms invisibly that are influencing the hearts and minds of humanity. The kingdom of God, coming from the Father of truth, Father of lights, who wants to bring life, intercession, prayer, help to humanity, life to humanity, good things to humanity. And there's another kingdom, the kingdom of darkness, the kingdom of the enemy, the father of lies, that is defiling and perverting and deceiving and blinding the hearts of humanity to bring destruction, violence, strife. I have to make a decision before my God of how I'm going to position my own heart. He wants to give me discernment of good and evil. And I will never call evil good and good evil by his grace with his help. That I will have proper discernment to call evil evil and good good by his grace and with his help. So that I can speak life over kings. My Father, my God, never comes down and oppresses me. He comes under me to help me and build me up. If God, the living God, comes like that to serve me in my life when I am in no throne of authority, then who am I to ever put a judgment on any throne of authority that God has set up? No, it is my position before a living God to join my Father and his ministry to come underneath them and undergird them with love and prayer and speak life over them so they can have the wisdom and strategy of a living God to help their nation, to help their throne of authority, because they need that from our Father. They don't need some oppressive spirit that might be spoken out of a cursing mouth. They need a blessing mouth to come underneath them, to position them so that they can help humanity and get the wisdom from a living God to come against the lies and deception that's blinding the hearts and minds of humanity. So what does that look like for me? Because I'm not on any throne, but I am set by God to honor the kings and the thrones that he has set up and the glory that's there by my Father. So what does that look like for me? That looks like, what did that look like for Daniel? That my heart is always submitted in the fear of the Lord to every king and every throne of authority, always. But it also means that I walk in the fear of the Lord. That fear of the Lord is what positions me to always have a submitted heart and an honor and a reverence for the throne of every king. But the fear of the Lord, there is strong confidence. But the fear of the Lord also requires that I walk in my own integrity before a living God myself personally. What does that mean? That means I have to honor the integrity of my own heart before God. That means it is never my place to judge any other human being because they are responsible before God to walk in their own integrity before God. But it is before me and my God that I have to honor the fear of the Lord in my own heart, that I honor my own convictions before God, with the fear of the Lord honoring the reverence and the glory of every king and the throne that God has set up for that king. But it also means that there are times when I cannot obey the king's authority and instruction. My heart is always submitted in reverence and godly fear. But in order for me to honor God first in my heart, that means in walking in the fear of the Lord, that I obey him first. Obedience is different than submission. You can have a heart of reverence and submission and a humble heart before God and before man, but that doesn't always obey the instruction. So let me paint a picture of what this has looked like. All right, so God, here's the other thing. God has put things on every single one of us as necessary. That's what I love about our Father. Every single one of us is born for right now, and we are absolutely essential to listen to him, to receive his instruction in the day, and to follow him with our whole heart. We are all strategic for this time to do whatever he's called us to do. Now, what does that mean? There are seeds, there are things, there are instructions, if we will have ears to hear, that are in his word and that he's put in us by those in authority that he's put us under. Let me give some examples. So for the last 11 years, I had the honor of being under a particular king, a church king, and he went to be with the Lord at the end of 2019. He would always say, babies die without touch. And, that revelation is not just for babies. Humanity needs touch. I saw devils get driven out from hugs. So that means that hugs cause the devil's kingdom, that kingdom of darkness, to be removed from humanity. That's good for humanity, to get that kingdom out of humanity. The other thing that I saw at the beginning of 2020, I had a minister, friend of mine, a king, who said to me, "Your ministry is your smile." How interesting, at the beginning of 2020. So when the instructions were given out, in April timeframe of 2020 to the entire world of how we were to conduct ourselves, the Lord kept bringing that to my mind. So I had to make a decision of how I would position myself before my God, how to honor the throne of authority, but how to obey my God based on what he had shown me, and obeying my God based on what I believe before my God is best for humanity. And that meant letting my smile shine and walking with a humble heart before my God and before those in authority, but letting my smile shine. And there are things that I saw him do, favor that I saw him give me, because a humble heart is different than a rebellious heart. And a submitted heart, you can see the difference. And what has that meant for me? That means it takes me 12 hours of a drive to get to Tulsa, then a couple-hour flight from Georgia. It means that it takes me 2 days to get to Colorado, then a few hours flying. It means that I walk in reverence to the throne of kings, but I walk, I guess, to a different beat. And yesterday I was I'm checking the time. Yesterday I was at a store and I was smiling and letting my smile shine. And in front of me, I was in line, and there was this little boy, and he was sitting in the grocery cart looking at me, and he had his face uncovered, and his authorities had their face covered, and she looked at me, and I'm smiling, and we're giggling together, me and this young boy, and she says he gets so happy and all giggly when he sees smiles, something like that. And I just smiled at him, and we giggled together. And I said, "I love your smile." And he just giggled at me. And when you have a strong conviction about what's best for humanity and what heals generations, you have to honor that conviction. But you also honor the throne of kings. The Lord gave me an instruction from his word several years back, but it continued to come back in 2020. And it's from Isaiah 8. And he says to me, "For the Lord spoke to me with a strong hand and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, 'Say not a confederacy to all whom this people shall say a confederacy. Neither fear their fear, nor be afraid. Sanctify the Lord of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. And he shall be for a sanctuary.'" It's a safe place when you have the Lord of hosts as a sanctuary. That's what I'm learning to walk in. May God bless you and keep you. And may he make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. And may the Lord, the living God, shine his face on you and give you peace, and lift up the light of his countenance upon you and give you peace. I said that a little bit differently, but may God bless you. And may God position our hearts more and more every day in the fear of the Lord and reverence of kings, that we can undergird them with our prayers. We have no idea the weight of that kind of responsibility. I know I have no idea. And God has entrusted it to them for a reason. And it's a good place when we honor that throne over nations, so that they can hear from the living God and receive the instruction they need to help the humanity and the people that are entrusted under their care. Because it matters how they walk. God bless you and keep you.